Alright, so hey guys, it's Final Exam Guy back with part 2 for the Engineering Management and Economics Final Exam walkthrough. I'd like to state it again that sit through this tight and you'll be good to go for the final exam. Loads of information to be obtained from here and learn how to do everything easy. Point out all the tricks. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, you can comment down below if you need any other help. I will answer you as soon as possible with help. Let's get started. This question is on internal rate of return. Let's go ahead and read the problem. Consider the following two investments, A and B, with the following sequences of cash. We got two alternatives, A and B. And part A is asking, what is the present worth for alternative A given an I of 10%? Let's get that done. So present worth, we can always draw the cash flow. Very important, we should actually do that. Cash flow diagram for A would be 3 years long. 0, 1, 2, 3. And what's going on here is at 0 we got a first payment of 120,000. And we have a receipt of 20 and a 20 and a final receipt of 120,000. Yeah, we see that there is an annuity of 20,000 for 2 years. Let's just do them individually, not to just complicate things. It's so short and anyways, so initial present worth at 0 of 120,000 plus 20,000. Bring it to the present from the future, 10%, and for 1 year. And the next 20,000 at 2 years. P by F 10, 2. And the final 120,000 at year 3. P by F 10, 3. Gives us a present worth of 4866, which corresponds to answer A. Now it's asking for, let's say this was 20% instead. If this was 20% instead, let's save some time here. Guys, and now that it's asking for 20%, it's just this value that changes. So you need to find a new value in the table. So for each one, it becomes 20%. So once done, you'll get a value of negative $20,002, which corresponds to answer D. Based on the questions 18 and 19, the IRR for alternative A is close to. Alright guys, for the alternative A, IRR means the value interest when the net present worth is 0. Right? So you'll get the IRR when that value, the net present worth, is equal to 0. What this means is that if you look at for the 10% when we found the value, it was a positive 4870. And then when we go to 20% and we evaluate it, we get negative 20,000. So you know that between 10% and 20, at some point it crossed over the 0 and a 0 value net present worth. So we want that corresponding percent of where it crosses 0, which is obviously going to be between 10 and 20. So what do we have to do, guys? I'm sorry guys, but we have to do interpolation. I know a lot of people hate doing that. I don't know why. It's not that complicated. It's really easy. I'll show you how to do it, no problem. So the general formula that I like to remember for interpolation is the y value that you're looking for minus the y1 value that you're given, because we already have some coordinates, minus over the x value that you're looking for minus x1 is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'll write out the coordinates that we have. We have the coordinates, our x values and our y values. So we have 10% for x1. Y1, its corresponding value, when we plug 10% into this function over here, we get 4870. And then we have x2, which is 20%, and the corresponding value is negative 20,002, y2. And then somewhere in between there's some x value that has a corresponding y value of what we're looking for, 0. So we need to find this x value. And we get that through interpolation. So let's plug in our known. So y is the value that we know. We know that it's 0 minus y1, 4870, over x value that we're looking for, this value, right? Minus x1, 10%, is equal to y2 minus y1, negative 20,002 minus 4870, over x2 minus x1, which is 20% minus 10%, so 10%. And in doing so, cross-multiplying and solving for x, I invite you to do that on your own. We get an answer of 11.95%. So the IRR for alternative A is 11.95%, which corresponds closest to 11.7. And now it's the same setup for problem. It's asking me the same steps for problem alternative B. So we'd have to find the present worth at an interest of 10%, 20%, and then find the in-between IRR where the present worth is 0. Let's just go through it really quick. Do a little shortcuts, perhaps. Let's just draw the cash flow really quick. 0, 1, 2, 3, negative 100K, 15, 15, 15, and 130K. You guys know how to set up the present worth for this. I'm not going to write it out. I'll say it to you though. Negative 100,000 plus 15,000, open bracket, P over F, 10%, and your N is 1. And 15,000 plus 15,000, P over F, 10%, N is 2, plus 130,000, P over F, 10%, N is equal to 3. It gives us a present worth of 23,701.5. Gives us the answer C. And for 20%, just plugging in 20% gives you a value of negative 1858. Answer A. Again, interpolating, I'll just write the coordinates for you guys so you can maybe do it on your own. The x and the y. x1 is equal to 10. y1 equals to 23,701.58. X is what we're looking for, which is the IRR. And y is, no, we want the IRR when y is 0. x2 is equal to 20. y2 is equal to negative 1858. In interpolating, we get that x is equal to 19.27% IRR. So the answer would be D. And for 24, if the MAR is 15%, which alternative is acceptable? You want to pick the alternative that where the IRR is greater than MAR, and that would be in case B, because the first one is 11.59 is 9.5, which is less than 15%. And this one is greater than 15%. So you would pick this one, alternative B. Simple as that. Alright, for the next few questions, we have some multiple choice questions. The 25, a project management office can take many forms. Which of the following describes the weather station form of PMO? Guys, a lot of corporations have an office for project management where you can get help and learn about proper ways to do project management. There are three types of PMOs. There's the weathering station, the tracking station, and the resource pool. They each have different uses. The weathering station happens to have the use of focusing on developing methods for continually improving project management skills by identifying what is working, where the shortcomings exist, and how to solve ongoing problems. So it's answer A. This is the tracking one, and this is the resource pool. Which of the following is true about the work breakdown structure? This is just theory. Go read about the work breakdown structure. You'll find that it is deliverable oriented. Organizations performing projects may divide each project into phases. Collectively, project phases are known as, obviously, the answer is project lifecycle. You don't hear about waterfall or quality circle, really, and stages. In engineering and economic analysis, sunk costs refer to, these are costs that cannot be recovered and are therefore losses. Alright, let's move on to the more juicy problems. Alright, for the next question is a project scheduling question. I've done a problem on this in the past. I made a video on how to do it properly. I'll put the link in the description so you can go check it out, but I'll still do a good job at explaining it here in case you don't want to check the video. So this question is asking you to fill out this schedule and answer a few questions. I'll show you the questions. I'll show you the questions after we fill out the table. So what's given in this question is they always give you the project durations in the bottom middle box. The early start for anything in the beginning is always 0. So slap on zeros over here. To find early finish, we just add 0 and 5. You go like that, and you add 5, 18, 2, and then you just transfer over these values to this box here. But be careful, because if there's two boxes going into one box, you have to pick the greater value if you're going that way. Greater value. So you can see that H has A and B going into it, and you got 5 and 18, so you got to pick the bigger number, 18. You see box E has box B and box C coming into it, so we'll pick the greater value, 18. Guys, please ignore my Facebook. It's blowing up today. I don't know why. Box D has B and C going into it, which again will be the greater values, 18. And then repeat the process again. Add 18 to 8, 26. It's always the same pattern, guys. Just follow it. 28. And box I has E and D coming into it, so you'll pick the greater value, and that's 30. Box G has H and E coming into it, so you'll pick the greater value, is 30. So you add 45, 50. Box J only has I coming into it, so 50. Box K as well only has I. Box L has I and G, you'll pick the bigger values, 50. And box F only has G coming into it. Add stuff like this, 59, 55, 59, 59. So to find project duration, it's going to ask us later. We'll get to it later. We'll just do the backwards pass now. When you're going, let's do the backward pass. When you're going backwards and you have two boxes going into one, you'll pick the smaller value. So first things first, you take the top right value, the early finish, and you transfer it directly to the late finish. So we'll do that. 59. All right. When you're going from the late finish to the late start, the bottom left corner, you're going to subtract 59 from 9, 50, 50 over here, 50, and 45. All right. Now let's go backwards. Box G has box F and L going back to it, right? So you'll pick the smaller value and put it here in the bottom right corner. It's 45. Correct? Box I has actually three boxes coming back to it. You got L, K, and J. You'll pick the smallest value, but they're all the same, so it's 50. And then you'll subtract again, so 30. And you'll subtract again, 30. And let's look at box H. Box H has only one box going back to it, so it's going to be automatically 30. 22. Box E has two boxes going back to it, so you pick the smaller value of G and I, it's 30. You'll get 18 over here. And box I to D is only itself, and it's 30 as well, so 20. Alright, transfer over the 20 to this box. Transfer over the 18. The B box has boxes H, E, and D going to it, so you'll pick the smallest values, 18. And box A only has 20, the H coming into it, so 22. Subtract, subtract, subtract. So of the three starting ones, A, B, and C, you'll always have one of them that will lead back to the same values on the top and bottom. So B has 18 and 18 and 0 and 0 on the top and bottom, and the other ones are different. So the only box left to calculate, this is a blank box here, the top middle one is blank, is the float. Okay, so float is subtracting the late start from the early start. Subtract, or the late finish from the early finish. It should give you the same value if you did everything correctly. So the float of F is 0, the float of L is 0, the float of K is 0, the float of J is 0, 0, 0, 4, 0, 2, 18, 0, 17. Alright, so we filled out the box. Now we should go to the questions and see what they're asking. Alright, so the first question, 29, is asking for the early start of activity H. So we go find out activity H is over here, and the early start, let's do them in pink. Early start of H is 18. So corresponding values, the letter is A. Late finish of activity B, bottom right corner, 18 as well. The float of activity A is this value here, 17. Project duration. So for project duration, yeah, we have 4 boxes in the last column. You pick the highest value, and that's your project duration. So 59. The critical paths. Critical path is the path from start to finish that has basically total floats of 0. So to get from start to finish, you'll pick paths that have floats that go to 0. Since we have multiple choice, we'll start with like A and see if it's a critical path. So B, E, G, F. So B, float of 0, that's good, that's good. E, float of 0. G, float of 0. F. So it is a critical path. It's a critical path because all the floats along it from start to finish are 0. B, good. E, good. I, good. J. It is a critical path as well. B, E, good. I, good. K, good. So they're all critical paths. So the answer would be D. Let's just see if there's any critical path and the other critical path that would cause this problem to be incorrect. This is multiple choice. So B, you have no choice to go to E. You can go to I or G. And yeah, there's more. I see that there's an L over here as well. BEGL, BEIL is a critical path as well. That's weird, but I guess because it's only giving you these three and they are all critical paths, then you must no choice to circle D. But there probably is more, but they didn't include them in this question they're asking. The late start of activity L is the bottom left corner. L, sorry, at 50, so that's good. And the float of activity C would be 18. Something went wrong in this problem, guys. I challenge you to figure out what it is. I'll be back with an answer. Alright, guys, I found a mistake, and you have to understand that I'm doing some of this exam on my own with you guys, and I'm I'm figuring the problem out myself. Some of the problems I have them pre-solved, but like this one, I was confident enough to do it by myself, but I actually made a slight mistake. The mistake is over here at this point. Box C actually has box D going to it. It has a box E going to it. So what happened was I took the 20 instead, which is the greater number, and you have to pick the smaller number when you're going left. So this value actually is not 20, but it's 18. So that would bring the late start to 16, and thus the float to 16, which will give you the answer C. Sorry about that, guys, but everything's good now. Don't worry about it. Next questions are about depreciation. The purchase price of a machine is $7,500, its estimated salvage value is $3,000, and its service life is 5 years. Please answer the following 5 questions. Alright, let's start by writing down our givens. I do have a video on depreciation, a couple of videos actually, so if you want to check them out, I'll put all the links in the description so you can get a refresher, because I'm just going to write the formulas down, assuming that you know them. So the price is $7,500. The salvage value is $3,000, and the service life is 5 years. Alright, so question 36. The yearly depreciation amount is for straight line method. Alright, the formula for depreciation at any year for straight line method from the previous video is price minus salvage value over the number of years, and this value is constant for every year. The depreciation in the straight line method is the same every year. So 7,500 minus 3,000 over 5 gives 900, and that corresponds to answer B. 37. The book value at the end of year 3 is, alright, let's set up the table really quick that I like to set up. So the time in the first column, the depreciation amount in the second column, and the book value. Time 0, there's no depreciation, the initial price is the book value. So time 1, we know that the depreciation is constant throughout. 2, 3, and we're finding the value at 3. So book value at year 1 is 7,500 minus 900, 6,600. Book value at year 3 is keep subtracting 900 from this, and you'll get 5,700. And finally 4,800. So the answer corresponds to C. Question 38. Declining balance method. Double declining balance method. Find the depreciation amount in the second year. So let's just make the note that the depreciation at any year for double declining balance is, memorize this formula, is 2 over the lifetime multiplied by the book value of the previous year. So let's go ahead and set up a table for this. So T0, we're going all the way to year 4, 2, 3, 4, D, T, and book value. Always no depreciation in the beginning, initial price for the book value. So depreciation at year 1 would be 2/5 times the previous book value, 7,500, which would give 1,500. No, my bad. 3,000. Is it correct? Let me just double check. Yeah. So to get the book value at year 1, you just take 7,500 and you subtract from the depreciation amount, 4,500. And now you repeat for D2. It's 2/5 times 4,500, the next value, which will give you 1,800. And a corresponding book value after subtracting it from 4,500 of 2,700. Questions asking you the depreciation amount in the second year is 1,800. And we're going to find the book value at year 4, so we got to continue. D3, 2/5 times 2,700 would give you 1,080. And a corresponding book value is 1,620. And finally, year 4 is 2/5 times 1,620. Gives you a value of 648. Subtracting with 1,620, you get 972, which corresponds to answer C. Let's just go through the sum of the years depreciation method to find the last two questions. Change color. So the sum of depreciation years depreciation formula to find the depreciation at any point is P minus S multiplied by number of years minus the time you're evaluating at plus 1 over the sum of the years depreciation, where the SOYD is simply just really easy to memorize. It's just the sum of all numbers up to n. So n is 5. The sum of all numbers up to n, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, is equal to 15. Simple as that, guys. P minus S, so D1, P minus S is 4,500, never changes in this equation, times n. We're valuing at time 1, so minus 1 plus 1 over 15. And this gives us a value of 1,500. And the question is asking you the depreciation amount in the 4th year. We're going to go all the way to the 4th year, so let's scroll down a bit, make a table. So time t, time depreciation amount, book value. At time 0, there's no depreciation, 75. At time 1, we calculated 1,500, so we'll be left with 6,000. At time 2, let's do it over here. 4,500 stays the same. 5 minus the time we're valuing, plus 1, over 15, gives you a value of 1,200, giving us a book value of 4,800. If you subtract 6,000 minus 1,200, D3, 4,500, 5 minus the time we're evaluating, plus 1 over 15, gives us a value of 900. Subtracting, we get 3,900. And finally, D4, 4,500 minus 5 minus 4 plus 1 over 15 gives us an answer of 600 for year 4. So our book value is 3,300. Now we can go up and evaluate the answer to question 40. So the depreciation amount of the 4th year is 600, and the book value is 3,300. That's it. Easy stuff. All right, guys. Question 42. over a period of 10 years, an investor deposits $1,500 at the end of each year in a savings account that pays 8% interest compounded quarterly. The amount available in his account immediately before the 10th deposit is close to. So they want to know basically the amount in the account at year 9, right after the 9th deposit. So I wanted to introduce a different way of doing things, just in case you get stuck on an exam or you don't know what's going on. This problem is a little tricky because we have compounded quarterly interest, and we got years. We got money being deposited at the end of each year, but the percentage is compounded quarterly. So I want to show you, it's a little bit longer, but it's easy to understand, and if you ever get stuck, you just resort to this. So I'm going to draw a table right here. I'm going to list the years, because it goes up to 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we'll call this T. It's a bit of an angle there, but whatever. I'm going to label this column the initial amount. I'm going to label the next column interest amount. I'll put it at $sign so you know that it's the amount. And we'll call the last column total. So let's analyze this problem. So at the beginning of year 1, he's deposited $1,500 in the bank. So his initial is $1,500. Just remember that the interest is compounded quarterly, so there's you have to divide the interest by 4. That corresponds to quarterly. Divide by 4. If it was semi-annually, you divide by 2. Monthly, 12. And now we're talking, because we're in the right interest, over 4 is 2%. So we're going the brute force method. We're gonna start with our money, deposit our $1,500, calculate our 2% interest on it, add it to the original amount, move on to the next year. So if I go for if I say 1,500 times 2%, that's how much interest is going to be gained in that year. That would be $123 interest gained. So if you add them together, the total will be 1632.6. And now we're moving on to year 2, where another 1,500 is deposited. So you'll have to add it to the last total, and your initial that you're starting with on this year will be 3123.6. And you calculate 2% interest on that, it gives you 257.38. Add it to get a total of 3380.98. You see what I'm doing here? And now he's moving on to the next year, so another 1,500 is going to be added to this 3380. So you'll get 4880.9. And the interest on that is 402.9, total of 5283.09. And now I'll just continue filling out the tables without talking too much. So, say I skip, and you know what to do here, exactly what to do. At this point, we get year 9 is what they want. We end up with an initial of 18,917.9. The interest on that is 1558.8. And the total from adding those two is 2476.7. So that's what's in the bank at year 9, which corresponds to the answer A. Yes, there is an easy way to do this using the compound factors, the P over A, the A over P. I encourage you to find the solution to that and post it in the comments. See if you get 20,476.7, and we'll move on to the next question. All right, let's go to the next question. An engineer wants to purchase a house for $100,000, and he has $20,000 cash down to use as the down payment. The bank offers a loan for the remainder at 6% nominal interest, with the term of loan being 20 years. So what's going on here is that he has $20,000 cash down to use. So what he has left to loan, what he's taking a loan on is $80,000, which we're going to work with that. The nominal interest rate, it's usually R, is 6%, and the loan is for 20 years. Assuming the payment is the same for all months, the monthly loan payment is close to, so we're looking for A, the annual payment. When it's nominal, you have to divide by the period that we're using. We're working in months, so we're going to divide by 12 to get the actual interest that we're going to be using. So 6% over 12. If it was quarterly, we'd divide by 4. If it was semi-annually, divide by 2. So this gives us 0.5%. This is what we're going to be using to get our annual payment. And then it's just simple as applying A is equal to P, A by P for 0.5%. And it's 10 years, right? So how many months? Because we're working in monthly. 10 years in months is 240 months. And plugging in 80,000, going in the tables to look for this value. There is 0.5% tables. It goes from like a quarter to 30% or something. We get an annual, monthly payment of $573. 572.8, which is 573. 44, the effective interest rate. That's just as simple as applying the formula for effective interest rate is equal to 1 plus R, your nominal interest, over the periods you're working with, to the power of the period, minus 1. So 1 plus, so you know R over M, we already did it, is 0.5%. But convert that always in decimal. Don't get confused here. That gives you, 5 times 10 to the negative 3 to the power of 12 minus 1. So our I effective is equal to 6.6167%. Corresponds to answer D. Alright, the next problem is going to be on capital cost allowance. Again, I made a video on this. I'll post it in the description so you can refer to it if you need. Willis & Gao Manufacturing Company produces PVC pipes and drainage ducts for use in the agricultural industry. The table below shows a list of the major equipment currently owned by the company and current book value. Alright, so we got a couple of different equipments and their respective book values, CCA class and CCA rates. So every asset, depending what it is, has a different rate of capital cost allowance. So again, that's the Canada Revenue Agency takes into account that assets will depreciate, and they will give you a tax break on that. So let's make the question's asking for the company's undepreciated capital costs at the beginning of the current year. So in order to do this, we have to consider each asset individually because they have their own rates. So you can't just apply that same rate for all of them. So we'll make a huge table, and in that table we will calculate the CCAs and UCCs for each year. So this is how I'm going to do the table. We'll call the first column time. We'll call the next column, actually let me just move over a bit. I'll try to do this one as neatly as possible. So we'll call this first column the assets, trucks, and 40% is their rate. Do time here, and each we'll do rows with each different asset. We're going up to, if you look at the rest of the problems, we're not going that far. We're going to maybe the end of next year. We're not going that far, so just 2 years is enough. So I'll draw a line here. Then I'll switch and we'll go for a forklift. And that has a rate of 30%. 0, 1, 2. And then we'll go for polyvinyl. Polyvinyl 0, 1, 2. Then the last one. And factory building. Call it factory. Alright. We'll draw a nice line. Wow, not this straight, but whatever. We'll call this column CCA. Changing too many colors here. CCA. And this one UCC. Make a nice line. Alright, hope it's not too messy. So, capital cost allowance there will be nothing at year 0 for each one. It's just blank. And the UCC is the book value for each asset, 30,000. And blank, 14,000. 10,000. And I use the magenta for the factory as well. And I forgot to put values. 0 and 240,000. With a 4% and the polyvinyl patent 25%. Alright, let's go ahead and find CCA1 for the truck. And CCA1 at least was the CCA rate multiplied by the book value of the previous year. So for the red trucks, CCA1 is equal to 0.4 times 30,000 is 12,000. So here, 12,000. And to get the undepreciated capital cost, you subtract 30,000 with 12,000 and you're left with 18,000. And for year 2, you just do 18,000 multiplied by 0.4. 0.4 times 18,000. Gives you 7,200, and you subtract 18,000 with 7,200, you get 10,800. For the forklift, same thing. 0.3 times 14,000 gives you 4,200. Left with 9,800. And to get CCA2, 0.3 times 9,800 is 2,940. And subtracting 9,800 minus 2,940, you're left with 6,860. And for this, 10,000 times 25%. CCA1 is equal to 0.25 times 10,000. It's 2,500. 25 You subtract, you get 7,500, and CCA 2.25 times 7,500. You're left with 1875. Subtract, you get 5625. And finally, for the factory, you get CCA1 0.04 times 240. Should be an extra 0 here. 240,000 equals 9,600. Subtracting, you get 230,400. And 0.04 times 230,400 gives you 9216 with your UCC 184. See what question 45 is asking. The company's undepreciated capital cost at the beginning of the current year is close to. Okay, current year. What does that mean, guys? It means nothing has really happened yet. Nothing has happened. We haven't gained any capital cost allowance. Nothing at all. So we still have the book values of each of them. So if you take all these and add them, that's exactly what the question is asking. You end up with 294,000. Alright, 46. The total depreciation deduction permitted at the end of the current year is... Sorry, so if you look at the table, so you would just take the capital cost allowance, which is the depreciation deduction for the first year, and add them all together. So 46, you will take the truck's first year, so 12,000 plus 4,200 plus 2,500 plus 9,600 will give you a total of 28,300, which corresponds to the answer D. Alright, question 47 is saying if the company decides to purchase a second forklift for 12,000 at the beginning of the next year, the depreciation deduction for asset class 38 at the end of next year is close to what? So they're basically saying they want to purchase another forklift at this point right here, because this is the end of next year. So we're going to add a $12,000 purchase here for the forklift. Second forklift. And guys, when you add an asset like that in the middle of a schedule like this, you have to calculate its CCA as well. It will tack on to this 2940 over here in the following year. So all we have to do is just take 12,000, find its capital cost allowance for the next year. So normally it would be you just multiply the depreciation rate of the forklifts, which is 30%, 0.3. But because you're adding an asset like this in the middle of the schedule or at some point in the schedule, you have to multiply it by 0.5, which is called the 50% rule. It's the Canada Revenue Agency's 50% rule. I encourage you to look it up. But for just this purpose, we'll just calculate it with that right here. So when you do this, you end up getting its own value of 1,800. So that will go over here. And when you add them both, its depreciation allowance is 4740. And that is your answer for 47. Alright, so now we got to find 48, which is considering the purchase of the second forklift. The book value of the company's assets at the end of next year is close to. So it's looking for the book value at the end of at year 2. So that's just simply adding every single UCC in the third column at year 2. So, but in order to do that, we have to actually calculate the new book value, because we have an addition to the extra forklift. So we gotta just determine. So it's just as simple as this is no longer a valid answer. We have to take 9,800 minus 4,740. So I'll just put it in brackets here. This is the value with the forklift. So if you take 9,800 minus 4,740, you get 5060. So now for 48, the answer is just simply 10,800. Every value in the second year, book value or UCC. 5060 plus 5625 plus 221,184. And this gives us a value of 242,669, which corresponds to answer B. Alright guys, that's the end of part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. Keep following, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you need help with any other topic regarding engineering economics. I'll see you in the next video.